Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for round two. This is round two of using Noteflight. Round one was logging in. Hopefully you've watched the video for how to log in. And if you have, then you should be on a page that looks something like this. It'll have this column up, or this row up at the top, the note symbol for Noteflight, create, my scores, community marketplace. It'll have this column of things to choose from. And yours is most likely to be blank unless you've already got a Noteflight account, in which case you may have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of these here. At any rate, what I would like you to do is this. Move the cursor over to the upper left corner on the home page and click the little plus symbol for create. Create. There we go. Now, here's the deal. This allows you to create a new score, as it says right here. You're going to scroll down to what you want to actually open up. Now, most folks go straight to the piano one, but that's not going to help us, all right? Because the cool thing about Noteflight is when you play things back, it'll play with the sounds of the instrument that you've chosen. If you click piano, suppose you're a violinist or a cellist or whatever, and you want to play it, and you click piano and you say, oh, look, it's a treble clef. You plug in a bunch of notes. You're going to hear a piano playing those notes. You're not going to hear a synthesized violin, so it's going to be less representative of the eventual thing you want. So scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Strings, string trio, string quartet, string orchestra, and that's kind of cool. Now they've also got where'd it go? Oh, treble clef and bass clef right at the very beginning. Now here's the deal: if you're a pianist, or excuse me, if you're a violinist, just go ahead and click treble clef. That'll do the job just fine for right now. If you're a cellist or bassist, you can click bass clef if you want to. That's fine too. However, violists will have to do some adjusting of things. I would recommend, to be honest with you, that you guys click either string trio or string orchestra. String trio will be a violin, a viola, and a cello, and that'll give you bass clef, alto clef, and treble clef as well. String orchestra gives us one of everything, and that's kind of cool. String orchestra, and we go to OK. And ta-da! This is what the composer would see. First violin, second violin, viola, cello, bass, all lined up with these lines connecting all 5 of the staffs. When you have more than one staff of music, more than one line of music, they call that a system. This whole big thing is called a system. So like the first line of music for all the instruments is called a system. At any rate, so here you have it. Now, before we start adding any notes into anything, don't even do that. Do not. In fact, if you've done it, click undo, which is the command button and Z for undo. What I want you to do, very first thing, is you got to set up your page. Okay? To set up your page, you need to do 3 things. The far left, you've got this button with the 3 lines. This, if you click it once, and yours is probably moving faster than mine, I got a slow machine right now, will give you a list of different categories of ways to manipulate the notes. Now, each of these is going to correspond with a collection of these little, instructions and whatnot. But if there's a red check next to them, then they will be duplicated up here. For example, here's score, the little check mark next to it, and that says that you could look at all the individual parts. You could format things. You go to page setup. You go to print, export it, save a copy, blah blah blah. All these icons, take a look up here as well. Parts, show in concert pitch, formatting, page setup, print, export. All of these, and if you want to see more, you press that little button there, are found here. Any of these that have a check mark next to them, you don't have to access by, going here and turning this on all the time, because they are already up here. Each one of those little red words indicates an entire bay of instructions. Here's all the duration buttons on the duration bay: pitch, tempo, dynamics, measure, text, all that good stuff. So each of these bays is a category of music commands, and the red check says it's on display at the top of the screen. If you want to add a bay, then you would click the word here, and suddenly we have an edit bay. Ta-da! This is the undo, and this is the redo. When the time comes, you may need those as well. If you don't really want that right now, make it go away. Duration, how long notes last. And if you say, well, I've got all the shortcut keys memorized, I don't need that, make it go away. Suddenly it's not there anymore. but maybe you want it. So let's leave it in there. You get the idea. So what I would ask you to do is to have the following categories checked. Have the following bays open up at the top. Score, duration, pitch, tempo, text, measure, dynamics, articulation, and sound. All right. Now, score has some basics like what parts. You can add a part. You want to add a bassoon, go for it. You know, page setup, printing the dang thing. These are all nice to have. Duration, how long the notes last. Pitch, how high or how low. Sharp, flat, natural. Move it up an octave, move it down an octave. Tempo, fast, slow. You want a fermata? You want a breath mark, also known as a bowing mark. Text, typing in some words. Measure, adding measure before, measure after, da 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 da. And likewise, you can find all those up here, which is really quite nice. Dynamics, expression text, crescendo, diminuendo, all that good stuff. Articulation, accent, staccato, tenuto, also known as the legato mark, right? Down bow, up bow, all that good stuff. This is one that is good to have checked, and it took me a couple of years to figure out that's an important thing to have. The sound button. This mixer is kind of cool. Metronome. Do you want to hear a metronome? You can have a metronome. But the mixer, if you click this, or alternately, watch this, right here, up here, we have that bay open. If you click this, here, click it here, it's the same thing. It will open up something over here, which is kind of nice. And now, suppose you've composed a piece for several instruments and you just want to hear the cello part. Click. Now you're just hearing the cello part. And you say, well, that's cool, but I want to hear where the cello part and the viola part are the same. Bam, click that. Now, suppose you decided to click this instead, then you get just the viola, just the cello, just the viola. You want both? You click the little box like so. Now you're hearing these two parts. Maybe you want to hear second violin and violas. Maybe you want to hear them all. Click play all. Done. Kind of cool. That's why the sound bay should be opened up. All right. So now that you've got all these bays open, you're almost done with setting up your page. Do not start typing in notes yet. No, no, no. We're so very close, but hang on. Because the one thing that's a complete hassle to change after you've typed in a bunch of notes is the time signature, and the other one that's a complete hassle to change after you've typed in a bunch of notes is the key signature. Adjusting those can be found in the measure bay right along here. Also can be found in the measure column over here. But for our purposes, this is why we opened up this bay. It's way easier to do this. So, change time signature. Bam. You want it in 3/4, arrow down to 3/4. You want it in 2/4? Sure. Are you one of those weirdos that likes 5/4? Maybe you like 7/8? Sure, you can do what you like. Let's go with the weird thing 7/8. Panic not, we'll change it back. I click OK, and the whole piece is in 7/8. If you had typed in a note ahead of time, then only the measure that you are operating at that moment would change to 7/8. The rest of it would all be 3/4 or 4/4 or whatever. And you'd have to select the whole piece and then click time signature change. That's why you want to do this before you've done any inputting of notes whatsoever. Get that established, make life easy for yourself. Key signature, click. You like sharps? We got sharps. You like flats? We got flats. This is all the major mode right here. What's it called in minor mode? Ooh. We'll stick with major mode for now. C, no sharps. G, only one sharp and it's an F sharp. D, only two sharps, F sharp and C sharp. A, three sharps. Notice open string, next open string, lowest on the violin, second lowest on violas and cellos. Then it's the D, then it's the A, then it's the E. Going fifths. C, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, right? All the way up to every single note is sharp. C sharp, major, craziness. For our purposes, let's just go with D major. I click D major, I click OK, and the whole darn piece is in D major. Yay. And again, if I had started inputting notes and then said, oh, it has to be in D major, then only the measure where I've got something, inputted would change to D major. Everything else, every other measure would remain where it was. No sharps, no flats. Unless you select the whole darn thing and change the key signature. So it's far easier to take care of it at the very, very beginning. All right, now the very last thing on setting up the page, and you don't have to do this now, you do it later. Composer, Albinrose. But if your name is not Albin Rose, as none of your names are Albin Rose, you would type in your actual name. Tyrone Shoelaces. Sorry. We'll go with them. That way the joke doesn't distract you too much. You can type in your title there if you want to, subtitle right here. There are no lyrics, whatever. You get the idea. In fact, let's go with your name. So you get the idea. All right. So there it is. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is inputting notes. Two big aspects of notes. Inputting the notes means we need to know what the pitch is, what the, how high or how low the sound is. We need to know how long the note is. So there's pitch and there's duration. So inputting the pitch, you could plug it in with a mouse. Sure, you could say I want a G. I'll tap here and then I'll tap a G. Oh, it goes G. And then I want a D. Let's go with a D. You could do that, and just click, 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 click. However, the glory of Facebook, and by sheer coincidence, I don't know how we got lucky this way, but the glory of, did I say Facebook? I meant Noteflight, my apologies. The glory of this program is that if you look at your standard issue keyboard, Quert, Uyap, Asdiv, Hijkol, Zixkov, Benham, if you look at it, the letters for the notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, all fit underneath the left hand. Take your left hand, reach out there. Look, A, there it is. B, C, D, E, F, right next to it, G, bam. How about that? Which means that if I want to, say, change one of these notes, I'm going to arrow back. Now, if I use my left, right arrows, up, down arrows, I can change where this blinking cursor is. Blink, blink. Right now it's here. It's moved past this note, which means if I type another letter, it'll give me another quarter note right here. Let's say I want to type the note F. There's an F for you violists and cellists. Trust me, that's an F. Now, suppose I don't want that to stay F. I take of the 4 arrows that I have, left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, down arrow. Up arrow makes it go up a note, down, up, like so. Suppose I want to adjust one of these other notes. All right, those 4 arrows, left, right, up, down arrows, I go left arrow. Now the cursor blinking back there, I'm on my way towards here. I go up. I'm still affecting this note, it's red, right? There. Suppose I want to choose the very first note. Let's make that another D. I just go over to my keyboard. I'm not clicking on anything, right? Here, the cursor's way over here. With my left hand, I click the letter D, and it is now a D. Not bad. So, suppose I'm in the wrong octave, and I was like, well, I want to do that D. Well, I guess got to use the cursor after all. No, because check this out. You hold the command button down. On Macs, it's the button that has that weird little cloverleaf shape to it, right? The command button and the arrow up, I go up an octave. If I don't hold the command button down and just press the up arrow, then I just go up one note, down one note, whatever. But if I hold the command button and I press the down arrow, I'm down an octave. I'm down 2 octaves. Which is obviously impossible for violins, but you get the idea. That arrow allows you the octave, and that's quite nice. Now, so that gets you adjusting of notes one by one, octave by octave. Right arrow key gets you next note, right arrow key gets you next note, right arrow key gets you next. It's a rest. Well, let's make it a note. Let's go back to D again. Why not? Okay. Now, suppose you're saying, well, that's all lovely. In fact, let's make this, we'll drop it down to C sharp. Now, maybe you're saying, oh, I like, C sharp is fine, but I want an accidental. I want C natural because I like the idea of the flatted 7. Well, how do you change the note by a half step? Well, this is where the shortcut keys come in. And I'll tell you, one of the cool things about Noteflight is that all the shortcut keys, well, many of the shortcut keys are kind of instinctual. Like the symbol that they've chosen for it kind of matches up with the idea they're trying to get across. Kind of matches up with the action that's associated with it. For example, suppose, let's go down to one. So you get let's say A. You want an A sharp. You then just go with the plus symbol, and that's in the upper right of your keyboard, over by the numbers, right? You hold the shift button down and you type in the plus. Suddenly you have a C sharp. Now suppose you've changed your mind and you don't want to have a C sharp. You just want it to be natural. That's the equals button. So, and right underneath the plus. So don't hold the shift button down, just hit equals. And it goes back to its natural state. Now suppose you say, well, that's great, but I don't want to see the natural symbol. Just hit equals again. Still the same note, but this time the symbol for equal or for natural is not there. Now suppose you want to make that a flat. Well, let's see. Logically, if the plus symbol made it sharp, the minus symbol, which is right next door to it between the key for 0 and the key for equals, the minus gets you the flat. How cool is that? So there you have it. Now I'm going to put that back to natural. There you go. So this is fortunate. Now, that gets us how to select the different pitches, how high and how low the notes are, by octave leaps, by half steps, by whole steps, accidentals, all that good stuff. Next topic is duration, how long the notes last. Now, so the notes, the actual pitches, were all fitting underneath the left hand, except for some manipulation of, octaves and accidentals and whatnot. Pretty much all the buttons that allow you to change the length of the note, the duration of the note, and for that matter, most of the buttons that, most of the keys that allow you to change the articulation of the note, we'll get to that eventually, are mostly underneath the right hand. So you can sort of just roll along with like left hand, D, and change the length of it, bam, with the right hand. Left hand, F, bam, and change the length of it with the right hand, bam. And you can sort of do a two-handed typing thing and really roll once you get used to this program. And you're thinking, well, that's great, but how do you do all that? Okay, so the length of the note, as you can see, sort of defaults to quarter note. If I do nothing else and just keep typing away, it will give me quarter notes. The cursor is blinking right here, which means that we're done with this note A. Whatever next letter I type in will pop up in this measure. Let's go with a B. This is not a very melodic tune, I should warn you. But anyhow, so here's this B. Suppose you want to make the note an eighth note. You want to make it shorter. So look at the keyboard, the physical keyboard. Right after the letter P, there are some bracket symbols. Not the extra fancy, extra dented brackets. Don't shift up for these. Just the left bracket and the right bracket, right? The left bracket makes notes shorter. So like you're going to the left, it's like you're reading backwards. You're going backwards, you're making it shorter. You click it again, it becomes a 16th note. Wow! Now you're saying, well, that's great, but I don't want it to be that short. Okay. Click the right bracket. It lengthens it out again. Back to eighth note. Back to quarter note. You want longer? Half note. You want longer? Right bracket once again. Whole note. This is how the left brackets and right brackets work. Now, that's all well and good, but there's one more thing. Suppose you're saying to yourself, well, I want to get a dotted half note or dotted quarter note. What do I do? Remember what I said about a lot of the shortcut keys being instinctual? Well, you want to make a note a dotted note? Type a dot. Bottom row of the keyboard. Next to the B, N, M, there's a comma, and then there is a period, or a dot. And I click that, ta-da, dotted half note. How cool is that? Now, I go back up to the brackets. I'm going to press the left bracket to make it shorter again. And it brings it back down to quarter note, and that's fine. I hit a dot, I have a dotted quarter note. And that's cool. Now, if I want to make the next note, just fit in that eighth note, I put my right arrow. Now that the little rest is highlighted in red, and I can type in, let's go, that's a B, let's go with the C, which automatically will be a C sharp, of course, because it's key signatures. And then now if I don't change anything else, If I don't click any other buttons except for the letters, which are the note names, the machine will default and just give me a bunch of eighth notes. So there's that C sharp, and here we go with D, E, F sharp, D, automatically giving me eighth notes. And it'll keep automatically giving me eighth notes until I decide otherwise. And as a matter of fact, here's how you decide otherwise. You could either go with the brackets left and right, or just leave the arrow to the right. And now that rest is highlighted. Let's go with maybe a long E. And then the half rest becomes a half note, and there is that. Now you don't want that to be a half note long. Arrow back. This is the left arrow keys, and the right arrow keys move you. Ooh, that was crazy. Sorry about that. So right arrow key gets you to the notes further to the right. Left arrow key, left arrow key. Left bracket shortens a note. Left bracket shortens a note. Right bracket long makes it longer. And the dot makes it a dotted note. And let's make that a D because we like D. Why not? So anyhow, that's durations. Let's do this. D. I'm going to make this a longer note. And let's go with... No. I changed my mind. I'm going to do that octave lower. And maybe up to the A. And now we'll have a half note of D. Calling it good. Suppose you want these to be connected. You can't make that a dotted quarter note because there's a bar line in the way. What we want is a tie, where two of the same pitches are connected. And once again, we have sort of this instinctive thing. Well, not instinctive, but it's a handy thing. It's right next to the period. It's the comma. You type the comma, and this will tie that note together, which I kind of like. Suppose you want to make something a rest. You say to yourself, well, I don't want that A there. I just want there to be a rest. How do I get rid of it? Hit the delete button, and it turns into a rest. Yay. Now we're about ready to run out of measures here. So talk about duration. We want the whole piece to last longer. Well, let's highlight this measure. I click in the measure somewhere, and suddenly this column of measures, this part of the system, has been selected. And up here under measure, it's the measure bay. This says add measure after. 1 measure, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Whoa, everything got highlighted blue. Don't know why. Don't worry about that too much, though. All right, so we have now added a whole bunch of measures. Yay, with that. We can remove measures. We could like highlight this one. And if you click this little gray bar, come on. The gray bar above that measure you selected, it'll highlight the whole column of music. And you can remove that measure, delete measures. Now granted, because I got so many of them, you can't tell they're being deleted because it's just one among many, but it was deleted. Moving on. So that's pitch, how to play the right note, how high and how low. Duration, how long or how short the notes are. And now, let's see, we've got 2 more big categories. Next up is articulation, and that'll include bowing. So articulation, again, pretty much all right hand. So we use the left arrow and the right arrow to get to the notes that we want to use. Oh, nothing is selected. There are no red notes anywhere. So let's select a note here. There we go. We got the F sharp again. All right. So that's not a bad tune. So actually, before I show you the articulation, let us do this. In the very corner here where it says play, let's hear what the piece sounds like from the very first note. It's probably not going to be too interesting, but let's hear it anyhow. Well, alrighty then. So suppose we want to make some of these notes different than the rest of them. We can make them staccato, we can make them legato, we can give them an accent. We can plug in some bowing, we can add slurs, all this good stuff. So let's start off with staccato and legato. These are probably the least intuitive shortcut keys. The rest of them are a lot easier. So staccato, is the semicolon, and that is to say, it's like the comma with a period above it. All right, this is the key to the immediate right of the L key. So let's make this note staccato. So here's semicolon, 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 semicolon. You get the idea. Suppose you have a long passage and you don't want to just hit semicolon for every single note. You can select a wide variety of notes. Select that one by clicking it with your mouse. Hold the command button down. That's, like I said, for Mac users, that's the one that has a cloverleaf symbol on it. And, oh, my apologies. The shift button. Let's undo this. Hang on. The shift button. There we go. And suddenly, everything is selected. Okay. All right. This is hopefully somewhat reminiscent of what you do when you're using a word processing program. You want to select things from like the first word to the last word of a paragraph or whatever. So now that we've selected the whole darn thing, we can either hit the semicolon, which is what we've been doing in the past. Ta-da! Or I'm going to do the undo. Or you could go over here and you've got all these different buttons here. So there's the staccato mark, and it'll staccato all of them. We change our minds. We don't want staccato, take it off. You want to make them all, give them all accents? Bam! Aha! I don't know if I need them all accented. I like them staccato. And maybe you're saying, wait, go back. What about that accent? So is there a shortcut for accents? Yes, there is. So to the right of the key that has the semicolons and the colons, you have apostrophes and quotation marks, right? Here, I'm going to hit the apostrophe, and we have an accent. Let's do the same thing there. Now, this, I hit shift, and I hit the apostrophe key for the quotation marks. This is a more intense version of the accent. It's a little shorter, a little heavier. Gets used a lot in band materials right next door. You can do that if you like. Now, let's not forget that above the semicolon, there is the tenuto mark. So I shift, and now it's not the semicolon, it's the colon. And this gives us that dash. So this will make this a long and fluid sound. So we have the staccato marks. We have the tenuto marks. We have accents. We've got extra intense accents. As far as bowing goes, there are no clever shortcut keys for bowing. For bowing, all we have to do is select the note, and then we go to down bow. There it is. Down, up, 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 down, up. Let's make that an up bow just so we don't forget. And you get the idea. So click, click, click. Life is good. Now, suppose you decide you want to slur two notes. These two notes. If it's just two notes, you just select the first note of the two, and you press the S key. Ta-da! Slurs, which is lovely. Now, suppose you're saying, okay, I want to slur more than one note. Well, first note is selected. You want to slur three notes? I held down the shift button and I clicked this last button here, right? So let's try this again. Click this note, hold down the shift key, click here, the whole stretch is selected. Now I hit S, and all three of them are slurred. I'm going to remove the tenuto mark there. So there you have it. We will hear the staccato. We may very well hear a slur, but we'll definitely hear the accents. Let's hear what this sounds like now. And there you have it. This one didn't get too accented, but whatever. The staccato was a nice effect, and it was a pop, 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 and we could hear that. So that covers articulation. Now, expression and dynamics. This is like the last layer of icing on the cake. You know, most of the time, it's the last thing people pay attention to, which is kind of sad. But so with expression and dynamics, you can add musical terms in Italian, like pesante, or poco a poco crescendo, or col legno, or marcato, all those good things. by adding the expression text, which is to say the command button, once again that cloverleaf symbol if you're a Mac user, and the letter E. So I'm going to say, let's go right here. Let's make the whole thing forte. So command E. Now I just type in, I'll take it back, mezzo forte, MF. I hit enter, and it automatically makes it boldface and italicized. The machine knows that certain letter combinations, F, MF, P, MP, PP, FF, etc., automatically get converted to this because they know that those are dynamic markings. Now suppose you've done this, but at the same time you have some other expression that you want to add to the piece. Let's see. Let's add more expression here. So once again, we go with Command E, and we get another box where you can type in some more stuff. P.S. Don't just type the letter E, because that would change the note that you're on to the note E. You have to go with Command E. And in this case, we have Command E, and let's say this is going to be pesante, P-E-S-A-N-T-E, which literally translates to peasant-like, which is a bit offensive if you're from the working class. But, you know, that's the way music goes sometimes. Enter. And there it is, also in italics, pesante. So there's our Italian. Now you're saying to yourself, well, what if I wanted to do something but I don't know how to say it in Italian? Well, we'll get to that. All right. For that performance text, let's add some performance text over here. This note's getting kind of cluttered. We'll be over here. Now, what you do is you want some text. You just type the letter T, and you have performance text, which usually shows up above. Now, maybe you're thinking, oh, but Command T, because wasn't it Command E to get, you know, expression and stuff? Well, it would be, except that Command T will get you a new tab. Like, for example, up here, if I go Command T, suddenly, do I want a new tab? No, I don't want a new tab. I just forgot. No big deal. Close out the spare tab. We're back to Noteflight. And I just hit T. And, oh, it was there. Now it's gone. All right, hang on. Let's try something here. There. All right, now T for text. And, oh, there's that T I typed in. And I type in, I don't know, something in English that people don't have to worry about translating. Oldly, like, I don't know, like what? Like dragons. Whatever. And this time, if you hit enter, you just get another line. Fiery dragons. Whoa. Yes. And if you're done typing your text, just click out of the box, and there it is. Now, right now, it's overlapping with some stuff, so click it so it turns red, and if it's red, that's the symbol for you can manipulate this. We're going to go back to those arrow keys, left, right, up, and down. I go up, 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 and it lifts a bit. I can go right, 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 left, 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 up. There it is. I can move where the text is. Likewise, I click pesante. Let's move it over to the side a bit. Right arrow, up arrow, up arrow, up arrow. Not bad. And I have that option. All right. Last but not least, dynamics. So if it's mezzo forte, you'd think it's going to get louder, right? So how do you make a thing louder? Well, you select the notes that you want to get loud. Now you need to do that by going like here, and the command button. Oh, no, sorry, what I was saying. Right, excuse me. The shift button, whole measure. And if I want that measure to crescendo, then once again, this is one of those intuitive buttons. What symbol on your keyboard looks like a crescendo mark? In the bottom row, it's over to the right. That's correct. Right above the comma, you have a lesser than symbol. I hold down the shift. I hit that sideways V, and bam, the whole measure goes crescendo. Now, not only that, let me click out of there. Suppose I don't want to, suppose I know that it's the entire measure, and I don't feel like selecting this by holding shift and hitting, oopsie. I don't feel like hitting this and then holding shift and hitting this. If that's too much of a hassle, you can select a whole measure by clicking somewhere where there's not a note head. And ta-da, the measure is selected. Now, I'm going to go to shift, and I'll use the greater than symbol, and it will decrescendo. That's how that works. Whew. So there's a lot of stuff here. A lot of different things going on. The basic categories we covered. I'll flip back. What we started off with setting up the page, and then it was all about selecting your note by pitch, selecting the note's duration, and then there was all the articulation and bowing, and then we talked about expression and dynamics. That was covered on this, a short tutorial, hopefully a helpful tutorial. The next video will concern itself with your official assignment. Fighting the urge to do the mad scientist cackle here. Hopefully it will not be too complicated for you. Hopefully this is going smoothly so far. And having said that, I will stop this video, and best of luck to you. Thanks much.